Hello, hello. First of all, I get nervous when I speak, so this is what this is. Please don't ask. It's a fanny pack. I think here you guys call them bum bags or something. It's a thing. I want to start off by just saying, first of all, thank you to Marilla, and you've done such an amazing job, Ross. Thank you. Everyone, give them a round of applause. It is an absolute honor to be able to share my story with you guys today and to have a room and a space where we can all get together and sync our periods all at once is phenomenal. I'm just kidding. Actually, the energy in here is really cool. And as Marilla said, there's something about women coming together and supporting each other. So if I can have just a little bit of an impact in your own journeys and your own stories, that's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm aiming for. So today I'm going to actually share with you guys the fuck-ups that happened in my own journey. I do swear a lot and I say some lewd things. I hope people in this crowd do not get offended. I apologize ahead of time. Now, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Howell, and as you can tell, I used to be the popular girl in school. What's funny about this picture is that a couple years before this was taken, I had my first brush with a massive failure in the sense of when you put yourself out there and you create something and it fucking bombs. Like, you faceplant so hard. At that time in my life, the thing that I desired the most was a boy called Sydney who was in my class. He had jet black hair and he danced tango, and I wanted to plant these lips on his so badly. So badly that I devised a crafty plan to get to kiss him. I somehow convinced the school to let me produce and script a play that I was going to show to the first graders. And the play that I scripted was The Little Mermaid. I cast myself as the princess. Who do you think I made the prince? Yeah. So here I was, like 9, 10 years old, and I go and I script this entire play. And over, about 3 or 4 months, I cast all the actors. I cast all my friends, obviously. My sister was a window frame in the play. And I proceeded to stitch up all the costumes and did all the rehearsals and all of this huge lengths to go to kiss this boy and use my creative talents to get to that. And so the day finally comes when the play is coming live, and all these first graders line up in the school cafeteria, and they sit down with these big bored eyes, and they stare up at us, and the final scene comes on where I'm supposed to kiss Sydney, and it is playing the song. Do you guys remember Celine Dion? When you touch me like this, when you kiss me, right? And I go in to kiss him, and he turns away. Whew. I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I felt like I had worked so hard to get this kiss from this guy, and nothing came of it. I never got to kiss him. There's no happy ending, I'm sorry with that one. But what's actually funny about that story, if we fast forward to today, is that I now run an agency out of Auckland, New Zealand. We work with clients from all over the world. I have a team of 17 full-time staff, and we've done $14 million since 2017. Thank you. Thank you. I'm fucking proud. I'm literally living the vision board that I had, and it would be easy from people on the outside to think that the journey to get to this had been magazine cutouts, and it hasn't. My 12-year marriage suffered as a result of me building my business. I'm now divorced. Nothing wrong with divorcees. Woo! Yay! Yay! I've got some vagina sprays for you guys later. That's also another company I have. Yeah. Single ladies. Woo! I missed the early years of my kids growing up. Literally the day I had a C-section, within an hour of giving birth, I was on my phone trying to respond to client emails. Completely missed my kids' early years of life. And when my son was 9 months old, I was so fucking burnt out by my business. I remember driving home one day from work and thinking I could just drive straight into this tree. I was burnt out. I was weighed down by this business that I was trying to build so hard, and I couldn't figure out how to make this work. And it felt like I was following all the strategies. I was working hard. I was putting in the work. I was going to the conferences. I was listening to everything. I was reading the blogs, and nothing I was doing. And what happened out of this is I suffered a series of more failures and blows, similar to what I experienced with Sydney. So in my late 20s, I was a marketing manager, and I was surrounded by entrepreneurs and business owners, and I got inspired by being around these people, and I thought, I can do this. I can start my own business, you know? How hard can it be, right? I decided I was going to launch a travel website. So I don't know if you guys can read this. A horrible poo caused the British Airways. I don't know what I was thinking about. This is like, anyways, I literally thought BBC and Lonely Planet was going to call me and offer me $1 million to buy my company. And so I went on. I had this huge idea. I'm going to build this travel website. It's going to make me millions of dollars. I'm going to launch this thing. We're going to have 1 million followers. We're going to make millions of dollars, and I'm going to sail off into the sunset with my family. And I spent about a year building this business up. Before even launching it, I spent about $4,000 on the logo. That thing is worth it, right? Yeah. Yeah. Looks like a, anyways, we won't go there. I spent about $40,000 on the website. Yeah. Who's been in a position where you're trying to build a business and you invest a lot of time into getting it just right before you go live? Hands up if you're guilty of that. That was me, yeah. And so, after all of this work in building this business, I was ready to go live with it, and I pushed go on the website, and I was like, this is it, I'm done, I'm set, like, I'm ready. And that day, 5 people visited the website. 4 of them were my family, and I suspect the other one was me, testing it out. And I experienced this devastating, just this, that's the word, devastation. Just this ultimate devastation. Here I had invested everything I had, everything, my mental energy, my financial resources. I had convinced my husband at the time to support me through this, and I felt so ashamed and humiliated. I had launched this thing and nothing. It hasn't made $1, this business. But what happened, and what's funny about this, is that I then went on to launch my agency, which I whipped up a logo in 2 minutes, and the website was on Wix. I learned my lesson through that. Perfection is the enemy. And this business actually led me into the agency world. It's how I stumbled into it, because at the time, this was like maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. People then, it was like Facebook page likes, boosted posts. No one really knew how to use Facebook ads properly for performance-based marketing. And so one of the business owners was an agency owner in the marketing association that I worked at. And he noticed that I had been trying to do this, and so he thought I was like an expert, and I was like, yeah, I kind of am, because I know how to build a Facebook page, so, and get 100 likes, you know? And that, you were an expert if you could do that back then, by the way. That was legit stuff. And so he then asked me to white label for one of their clients. So that's how I fell into the agency space. It was kind of a freelancer to begin with, right? I was white labeling for another agency. And so here I am on my path, okay, I pick myself up again. All right, not quite what I wanted, not quite what I expected, not quite the pivot that I thought my life would take, but I was really happy. I was charging $800 a month, and I was doing community management, blog writing, content marketing, Facebook ads, newsletters, their website. Has anyone else done this where you just like do everything for like $500? Yeah. But I was really happy. It was like my first official client. I was like, score, except every single month I would send my invoice, and I always felt guilty. Like there was something really weird about like sending an invoice, and I don't know, I just felt really weird and guilty. I was a creative, you know, I just felt like it was an intrusion on our relationship to ask for money. And I would send my invoice, and I would have to chase it for about 3 to 4 weeks, every single month. Hey, just checking in, how you doing? So, hey, that invoice. And it's really awkward to be in that position, right? Like, it's really awkward to ask for money that you're actually owed, that you've actually done work for. And 9 months into that relationship, the agency folded, and they defaulted on $3,000 of payments for me. Never saw that money again. The client, however, decided to end up working with me and continues to work with me 5, 6 years later. So it's my longest standing relationship that I have with any clients inside the agency, and they're still with us. So you would think now, all right, she's got her shit together. She's figured out she needs to invoice clients and all of this stuff. By the way, who's selling services to clients here? Oh, wow, quite a few of you guys. A bit of a tip. Do you guys want a tip with invoicing? That really helped me. Create an email address called accounts@your-company, and then create a false accounts lady, like Barbara, name her Barbara. Just make her up, whatever name you want to do, and get Barbara to harass the client. And it protects your relationship with the client. So you get Barbara to go, hey, buddy, if you don't pay tomorrow, you're out. Sending the debt collectors. And your relationship is protected. So that's a tip. I hope that helps you guys. So you would think now, okay, this girl has figured out how to invoice clients, and she's figured out how to sell her services. She's got it set, right? All sorted. Oh my God. So we started to, I started to get a little bit of traction. People started to notice that I was doing Facebook advertising. It's a booming industry, by the way, guys. I love Katrina's technology speech, because coding, media buying, these spaces are just exploding, and the demand is huge for it. And I started to onboard more and more clients. And I started to actually build a team through that process as well. And what I loved about Amaya's speech is actually the concept of saying no, which I didn't have at all back then. Because I think when you're getting started out and you're really new, there's a huge fear in the back of your head that if I say no to somebody, am I closing a door on something? Am I potentially losing revenue? And so what would happen would be all these people would come in with all different needs and different angles and different businesses and industries, and they would say, hey, can you do our Facebook, or can you do our blogs, or can you do this, or can you do this? So it was like a car dealership, an e-commerce store, lead generation, a lawyer, an accountant, a brand, in all different spaces. And we said yes. We were like, yeah, we can. You need a video? Sure. And then we're like, fuck, how do we put this together? And I think that was the logic in my head, right? Because how do you find that balance between, people that are saying just jump off the cliff and you're going to grow wings, and the balance of like, no, just say no. An opportunity is here, but it's not the right one for you. And I didn't know how to recognize that. And so I was saying yes to everybody coming in. And we started to grow our revenues. I was doing, when I say grow, I was doing about like 5, 10, 15K a month, which I know is like a huge amount for a lot of people in this room. And it was a lot for me back then. And then what happened was, and actually, this is a cycle I went on to repeat a couple of times before I learned my lesson here, is we lost. We would lose all of our accounts because we couldn't deliver on the expectations that we had sold. We were spreading ourselves so thin. And what I realized through that is the power of niching down. That was one of the big lessons in that. And when I say niching down, by the way, guys, for those of you in the service-based business, because this is something that trips a lot of us up, it's like, what is niching? Who? What? When you're getting started down, niching down is based off your solution, your service. That's your niche. If you offer Facebook advertising services and you're really good at launching campaigns or at scaling campaigns or at setting them up, that's just what you do. You can do it for maybe different clients that share that specific problem or need, but just stick to that one service offer, refine it, process it, run through it until you can do it with your eyes closed. Because as soon as you start to spread yourself thin, you'll start to lose those accounts. Now, as you grow, niching down is more around like an avatar, a niche, or an industry. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about all of the failures and all of the lessons that I've encountered through my own journey. And in fact, even as I stand before you, you may think I have my shit together, but I actually, half the time, wake up and I'm like, I don't fucking know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what's happening today, and I don't even know how to handle this situation. And I've learned so many lessons in building my business up, but perhaps the most important lesson I've come to learn is the importance of how I view failure, my perspective of failure. If I hadn't had failed at launching Yeti, my first business, I wouldn't have fallen into the agency world. If my first agency client hadn't defaulted on their payment, I wouldn't have kept a client that has been one of the best client relationships I've ever had in my agency. I also wouldn't have terms in my own business that respects the contractors we work with, that pays people on time, our employees, the people that work with us, which means I'm able to attract and retain really good talent in my company. If I hadn't lost accounts, if I hadn't gone through that pain, I wouldn't have niched down, and I wouldn't have made the money that I've made in my business. And if Sydney had kissed me, I wouldn't be standing here in front of this stage today. Failure only stings because of the stories you tell yourself about what it means for you and what it represents for you. But it is a necessary thing to where you want to go. You have to fail. And the more you put yourself out there, the more you iterate, the more you just go. Perfection is the enemy, just go. It doesn't matter if you're confused or you don't feel like you have clarity, just go. The more you fail, the more you place the statistical chances in your corner. Every failure that one colleague has or one peer that I have, I've probably done 10 times in that same time frame. I've gone, and I've face planted 9 times, but one of those times worked. And everything leads into something beautiful that is always unexpected. So the key is, really, failure is not your enemy. Failure is not a problem. I've failed so many times, and I will continue to fail epically on epic proportions. The most important thing that you can do in your business is to keep your eye on the prize. If you dwell on what failure means for you, or how you are not unworthy, or the universe is against you, or it's never going to happen for you, and it's not meant to be for you, if you dwell on that, that's where you get into problems. So change the way that you view failures, and then it just becomes a statistical odds to you to get to where you want to be. I hope this helps. Thank you very much.